Teen Vogue, one of the wokest leftist publications, is under fire because when she was like 17 years old, she posted offensive tweets. Seriously. When this stuff cycles back and crashes into the face of these people, it's just kind of hilarious. This is a corrupt journalist, and we'll get into this. She is corrupt, and a corrupt journalist getting a job at a woke publication is called out by the woke at the publication because she 10 years ago wasn't woke enough and was offensive. It's amazing how this stuff works, doesn't it? So let's talk about the corrupt journalist and the backfiring of their stupid cancel culture nonsense. But I do want to point out the philosophical conundrum here. All right. Andrew Cuomo, and just hear me out. Andrew Cuomo, he's a governor in New York. He killed like 15,000 people. Also, I think Governor Tom Wolf and like Gretchen Whitmer did similar things. But let's talk about Cuomo because this one's specific. He orders sick COVID patients, I think recovering, but people who have COVID into nursing homes. He's told by these nursing homes, you're going to kill people. You're going to introduce the virus. He doesn't care. He then covers everything up. And what happens? Did the Democrats come out outraged saying this is a monstrous behavior? No. They didn't care. They did not care. Now, when the cover up got exposed, I think the second time, like we realized first we learned the cover up, then we learned the cover up was worse. Then they started saying, well, this is pretty bad. But it was only after Andrew Cuomo got Me Too'd by like 4 women were they like, it's time for him to resign. I love it. Andrew Cuomo can be corrupt as they come, burn New York City to the ground, and they only come after him because he crossed the woke, the woke-erati, the woke Twitterati, whatever you want to call it. Now I bring you to this, I'll do air quotes, journalist. Teen Vogue staffers call out new editor-in-chief over anti-Asian tweets, also homophobic ones. I call her corrupt because she was involved in this story where she was covering the White House while dating somebody in the administration. That is corruption. And it became big news, and conservatives were like, whoa, conflict of interest here, but nothing happens. These news outlets won't do anything about it. She's not held accountable. There's no calling out, there's no people saying fire her immediately. This is a major conflict. And then what happened was apparently the guy she was dating started threatening another journalist. And we're talking about extreme levels of corruption where it's like, I'm going to report on this story. Y'all are doing something wrong. I will destroy you. The guy actually said, I will destroy you. Okay. He said something like that. Only now, when they discovered that 10 years ago she posted offensive tweets, are they trying to get her fired. Think about what that means, okay? Cuomo can kill people. This journalist can violate every standard ethic of journalism, and they don't care. But you cross the woke, and they will come for you. Let me show you something before. I'll read you the story, and I'll show you the criticism. They wrote like this letter. They're trying to get her fired. Check this out. The New York Times, in a glorious puff piece, Teen Vogue selects its next top editor, the political reporter Alexi McCammond. Miss McCammond, 27, covered the 2018 midterm elections and Joseph Biden's presidential campaign for Axios. I don't care that when she was like 17, she said stupid things. A lot of people say stupid things when they're young. Okay. I care that she is unethical and doesn't take her job seriously. Well, the New York Times basically writes this beautiful piece. She made her name covering MSNBC. Oh, thank you, New York Times. You see how they never get held accountable for the horrible things they do. Now, the New York Times does go on to mention, I will destroy you, quote. This is amazing. Look at this. Let's talk about how corrupt this person is. And I'm showing you this to stress the point that she's only getting threatened with losing her job now because she crossed the woke 10 years ago. The New York Times says, Miss McCammond was a secondary figure in an early test for the Biden administration that centered around her boyfriend, TJ Ducklow, who resigned last month from his job as deputy White House press secretary. They started dating when she was covering the Biden campaign, and Mr. Ducklow was its press secretary. Serious violation of journalistic ethics. Earlier this year, Politico told Mr. Ducklow, who has battled lung cancer, that it planned to write an item on the relationship. As Vanity Fair later reported, Mr. Ducklow tried to intimidate the Politico reporter writing the author, Tara Palmieri, telling her, I will destroy you. That's a quote. Before the Politico item appeared, People published an exclusive feel-good account of the relationship under the headline, Reporter Forgoes Covering President as Romance Blossoms with Biden Aide Battling Cancer. Didn't think twice. She didn't. That's not true. Many people pointed out that she was still actually working on administration stories in a serious breach, a serious conflict of interest. Well, nobody cares, apparently. And this is where we end up now. Teen Vogue staffer. So apparently she leaves Axios and she goes to work for like the wokest of woke publications. Teen Vogue. I thought Vogue was supposed to be like this fashion and glamour magazine. Hey, far be it from me from knowing what Teen Vogue is about. I don't read it, nor have I really ever, except their Karl Marx piece. No joke. Teen Vogue wrote about like Karl Marx, why he's great. It's like, okay, like I don't know what Teen Vogue is supposed to be, but it doesn't seem like what it's supposed to be. Alexi McCammon is a woman of color. She is a prominent reporter, and she was brought on as the editor-in-chief. And they're coming after her. Check it out. Teen Vogue staffers openly slammed their newly hired editor-in-chief on Monday over recently resurfaced tweets she made that mocked Asian people. More than 20 employees of the digital publication said in a statement they penned a letter to parent company Condé Nast about hiring former Axios political reporter Alexi McCammon. The company announced on Friday that McCammon, 27, had been tapped to lead the fashion title, which frequently tackles political issues. My friends, Teen Vogue is a fashion magazine that writes about Marx. Okay. She was recently embroiled in a media scandal involving the Biden administration after her boyfriend, a White House deputy press secretary, threatened a Politico reporter looking to expose their relationship. He ultimately resigned. Over the weeks, a series of since deleted tweets that McCammon posted in 2011 when she was a teenager resurfaced on social media. I'm telling y'all now, delete your Twitter histories. Don't play any stupid games. These people just don't get it, man. I think I purged a decade of tweets because Twitter has no upside. You go follow me on Twitter, and I explain. I am now actively engaged in anti-tweeting. I've long said that I don't like Twitter. I'm going to stop using it. And then I realized it's not enough to just not use Twitter. We must actively be anti-tweeting. You know what I mean? And the only cure to past tweeting is future tweeting. That's anti-tweeting. If you're tweeting in a way that is, counter to the way you used to. I don't know if you get the bit, but whatever. Let's read. They say, over the weekend, a series of since deleted tweets were emerged. Quote, now Googling how to not wake up with swollen Asian eyes, one of the tweets said. She then goes on to talk about a bunch of really bad Asian stuff. Wow, she really doesn't like Asians. I'm not surprised. The tweets were shared in a now viral Instagram post by Diana Sui, an editor at the website The Infatuation, who wrote, I'm tired of big media organizations pretending to give a damn about diversity and inclusion. Me too. Wow. I agree with this person. This especially is a slap in the face given what's happened to Asian Americans in the past year. Sui added, referring to the recent uptick in hate crimes targeting Asian Americans. I got to admit, I agree. I do. I wonder if this individual is actually complaining about wokeness and saying she wants more diversity and inclusion. I actually think if you're talking about like the core definition of what diversity and inclusivity is, I'm like, sure, that's fine. Typically, when they say diversity and inclusion, they often mean exclusivity. So, we'll see what she really means. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. They mention what the actual F says Olivia Munn, because she's a paragon of punditry. Online fashion industry watchdog Diet Prada also shared the post and called out Condé Nast, writing a simple Google search would have shown what McCammon said. So effing what? I can't stand these people. I can't stand the manipulation, the fake news, the false framing, the propaganda. But so what? She was 17. She deleted the tweets. What more is she supposed to do? I think people should be complaining. She's corrupt. She was dating a guy she was supposed to be covering. She was covering the Biden campaign. Okay? And then she started dating the press secretary for the campaign. And she continued dating him while he worked for the administration, and she was covering them. Absolute corruption. But this, are you making me defend this lady now? Quote, you can debate all you want about how reflective some decade-old tweets are of someone in the present, but for a publication as progressive as Teen Vogue, the choice leaves us scratching our heads. Were there absolutely no other qualified people? Amazing. Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe they could have found a white male for you to complain about. It appears the tweets first circulated in 2019 when McCammon issued an apology on Twitter. She said, today I was reminded of some past insensitive tweets, and I am deeply sorry to anyone I offended. I have since deleted those tweets as they do not reflect my views or who I am today. And I agree. She's probably telling the truth. I really doubt she's going to be tweeting this stuff and saying these things. It's 10 years later. Well, at the time, it was 8 years later. In their public statement, the Teen Vogue staffers noted that they had built our outlet's reputation as a voice for justice and change. We take immense pride in our work and in creating an inclusive environment. That's why we have written a letter to management at Condé Nast about the recent hire of Alexi McCammond as our new editor-in-chief in light of her past racist and homophobic tweets. Quote, we've heard the concerns of our readers and we stand with you. In a moment of historically high anti-Asian violence and amid the ongoing struggles of the LGBTQ community, we as the staff of Teen Vogue fully reject those sentiments. We are hopeful that an internal conversation will prove fruitful in maintaining the integrity granted to us by our audience. Condé Nast defended their decision to hire McCammond while pointing out that she apologized for the social media posts. So you're saying she confessed? She admitted to doing it? She should have said she got hacked. Oh, I was hacked. That's a long time ago. Alexi McCammond was appointed editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue because of the values of inclusivity and depth she has displayed throughout her journalism, the company said in a statement. Throughout her career, she has dedicated herself to being a champion for marginalized voices. All right, well, let me tell you something. Everybody knows the game is fixed, okay? These journalists can violate every norm, every ethic, and they just keep getting hired. You had the guy from BuzzFeed who was caught spying on other companies. Boom, he got a new job. You got the other guy who was caught plagiarizing. Boom, he gets another job. Welcome to the revolving door of corrupt journalism. It's how it works. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. Now, they hired her, I suppose, for whatever reason, and she's being called out. They wrote this letter. And I want to read the letter as to what they said, but I want to point out something. The reason I brought up Cuomo. How should we feel about this if she gets fired? She's a corrupt journalist. Should she be fired for past tweets? This is the problem. Andrew Cuomo is a creepy creepo who put out a statement where he's like, I did not inappropriately touch any women. And there's literally a photo of him grabbing a woman's whole head. And I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure grabbing someone's head is inappropriate and creepy. So your opinion of inappropriate doesn't hold much weight with me after seeing that photo, especially. Should he resign because of the Me Too stuff? I got to be honest. Maybe. Yeah, I say maybe because some of these are like he made inappropriate comments. And I'm like, if it was repeatedly doing this and there are a bunch of women, maybe it's indicative of his behavior and we should get rid of him. But I'm like, the dude should resign or be impeached for literally killing elderly people. I want the trial, the press to be like, dude kills elderly, fire him. I want this journalist to get fired for being corrupt, for violating journalistic ethics. Instead, she's rewarded. She was rewarded with an editor-in-chief position at a major publication, a crazy one in my opinion, but hey, that's Teen Vogue. After she was called out for this unethical behavior, they said, let's give her the top spot at Teen Vogue. That is, to me, an incredible indictment of our journalistic institutions. And now we have this. And I wonder, should we take the win? You know, is it really a win when she gets fired for being a dumb teenager? And here's the problem. If she is allowed to be the editor-in-chief, this corrupt individual, she will spew slime and decay all over what's left of the withered husk that is the Fourth Estate. So so it's bad for us. If she gets fired for this, then I think it's an affront to normal human decency. She tweeted dumb things. I'm not going to condemn her 10 years later for this stuff. She should be fired for being corrupt. But what if that keeps her out of this position? And I'm sitting here going like, it is an ethical conundrum, to say the least. A comment and let me know what you think, actually. Should we just be like, well, fire her. We'll take whatever we can get to get rid of these corrupt people. Or should we defend the rights of free speech, even if it means a corrupt journalist is rewarded with a prominent position? You see how this works? It is not easy. This is the big challenge. I almost think she must be allowed to keep the job because her tweets should not be the reason she's removed. But she should be fired and not given the job because she's an unethical, corrupt, air quotes, journalist. So what's better? The ends justifying the means? Man, I don't know if I have the answers. Here's what Teen Vogue wrote. They said, as more than 20 members of the staff of Teen Vogue, we've built our outlet's reputation as a voice for justice and change. We take immense pride in our work and in creating an inclusive environment. That's why we have written a letter to management at Condé Nast about the recent hire of Alexi McCammond as our new editor-in-chief in light of her past racist and homophobic tweets. We've heard the concerns of our readers and we stand with you. In a moment of historically high anti-Asian violence and amid the ongoing struggles of the LGBTQ community, we as the staff of Teen Vogue fully reject those sentiments. We are hopeful that an internal conversation will prove fruitful in maintaining the integrity granted to us by our audience. I don't even think they're going to fire her over this. I don't even think it's necessarily what the staff members are saying, perhaps trying to stop her from getting hired in the first place. We also have this from Diet Prada, and they said, let's talk about Condé Nast HR and this questionable hire for Teen Vogue editor-in-chief. It's interesting to me that they said, we were scratching our heads over this. And I'm like, why? Because she didn't pass your purity test? You know what, man? Maybe I'm all for it. And I'll put it this way. I'm not for this kind of weird PC cult in my companies or where I work, and I wouldn't stand for it. There have been businesses that I've gone to, right? So I there was one comic shop that I used to go to, and I play Magic the Gathering, and I'm looking for cards and things like that. And they had a bunch of the freaky cult symbolism in the windows. They had statements about safe spaces and signs and certain anti this and anti that. And I'm like, that's not a safe space. Because the people who fly these flags are seen on video being particularly violent, and it's very clearly tribal virtue signaling. I think that's kind of creepy. I'm not in favor of that in my business, but I'll tell you this. If big, powerful, prominent publications have these rules and they're going to start firing everybody who said a naughty word, then these companies are going to collapse. So why not just let them? If they want to be more puritanical lunatics and they're like, when you were 17, you said offensive things, like, oh, yeah, wow, I wonder what 17-year-old didn't say offensive things. If they're going to start firing, okay, great. Then the companies won't be able to hire anybody. And no matter who they hire, you can find something. There's a post on the Barracks. It's BERRICS. For those that aren't familiar, it is one of the most prominent skateboarding publications. And on their Instagram, they asked, how do people feel about cancel culture? It was really interesting to see a skateboarding brand ask people how they feel about cancel culture. And most people were like, it's bad. I'm scared to express myself. I'm scared to say my opinion. And I'm like, these are all really, really bad things. So I'm worried with like things like Teen Vogue doing this. It actually will start spreading out to apolitical communities like skateboarding. However, there's the inverse to that. If Teen Vogue nukes themselves, then maybe people will start laughing at them. And that's what we need to do. If regular people are pointing out that it's stupid and absurd, then perhaps they are just burning their own ideology to the ground with their puritanical morality testing. In that post, though, someone said, it's just accountability. Why is anyone scared about being held accountable? Like, if you didn't do anything wrong, what are you worried about? And you can go to these people's profile and find 100 things that they can be canceled for. The issue is that these people who post nonsense on Instagram to small followers and who don't pay attention don't realize what's happening. Sometimes people get canceled for fake tweets. There have been people who have shared fake tweets about like various politicians, and then the media comes out and condemns them, and it's never corrected. There have been individuals accused by, they take videos, they cut them out of context, and then they try and destroy your careers. Cancel culture is not about saying like, you did something wrong, so you must be held accountable. That's what they try and say it is. Sure. Sometimes she said something wrong. She must be held accountable. She was. She apologized. We're done with it, right? She was a teenager, said something dumb. But sometimes they'll take a video of you, and they'll cut it together and they'll take it out of context. This is what really freaks me out when you see a lot of these videos on Reddit, where it's like, there was one recently where there was a black guy filming a white woman, and he's yelling at her, accusing her of being a racist Karen because she did something wrong, but you never see her do anything wrong in the video. And then everyone in the comments like, yeah, you get her. You tell her that racist. And I'm just like, that lady was just standing there timidly, not saying anything. We don't know if she did anything at all. If there's a video of a woman, a Karen doing these things, by all means, call it out. But in a lot of these videos, it's filmed after the event supposedly happened. Like, I started filming afterwards. It's like, well, I don't know what happened, dude. So this guy who comments saying, on the Barracks post, I just think people, are scared of being held accountable. I'm like, what happens when someone photoshops a photo of you doing something offensive? What happens when they take something out of context? What happens when you're doing your job? Or how about this? When I was in Germany with Luke Rutkowski, there's a photograph where I guess Lauren Southern was there. A bunch of people were there. I know Lauren, of course. And someone took a photo and there was a German journalist in the background and another journalist, a reporter, an American reporter in the background as well. simply by nature of being in the photograph, walking the other direction. This is the crazy thing. Like Lauren was like walking in the background a certain direction, and there were journalists walking forward. And then what happened was they beat the crap out of these journalists. They tried stealing one guy's camera. Why? He was simply in the photo walking a different direction. Any sane person would be like, he's not walking the same direction as her. He must not be with her. They didn't care. They did not care. They were like, doesn't matter. You're in the photo. They said it. You're a Nazi. It's over. That's the problem with this extremism, with the far left, with cancel culture. So, I don't know. You comment, tell me what you think. Should we just demand this woman be fired? Should we wield fire against fire? I don't believe the ends justify the means because we never meet the ends. If we create a world based on this ideology and to entertain it, you only make things worse. Engaging in cancel culture just makes more cancel culture because people realize it's a weapon they can use. Some people seem to think that accelerationism will cause it to explode. The pressure will get too great. Once the left starts getting canceled, they'll immediately try and stop it. Maybe, or maybe they'll just laugh and be like, thanks for agreeing with us. So it's tough. Ultimately, I don't read Teen Vogue, but I think Teen Vogue is a awful publication for the most part. But you're allowed to like whatever you want to like. So, I'm not the arbiter of morality, and, it's not like I'm if you want to read Teen Vogue, you go read Teen Vogue, whatever. You do what you want to do. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.